Hello and welcome to the Alula webinar. My name is Kevin Hoffman. I'm the Content Marketing Manager for Alula. And today we've got something really special for you today. We polled our pros to find out the best information about the upcoming cellular sunset. And today we're debuting the results. The Sunset Survey results, insight from fellow pros. So just a quick agenda. We're going to do some introductions of our experts as well as the company. Then we're going to talk through what is the cellular sunset. We've got an expert here who can really tell you what it is and how it works. We'll talk about why they happen and when they're going to happen. But then most importantly, the meat of the webinar, we're going to hear from our pros about when they're getting started, how they're tackling this sunset, how confident they are about it, and what you can learn from them in terms of best practices to make money from the sunset. And that's that last category there. We're going to look at actionable insights, how to use this sunset as a business opportunity. And we've got some great slides that actually show you the math of how you're going to make that money. First, I just want to give you a quick overview of Alula for those few of you who may be new to the company on the call. Alula's focus, one of the things that makes us different is we are 100% dedicated to our partners. That's dealers, distributors, and other security and automation pros. We do not sell to the end user. You're not going to see us in these big box stores. We will only sell through the professional channel. The best part about our solution is that it's all encompassing. We've got both new takeovers and installs all on the same system, new installs and takeovers both on the same system on an efficient end-to-end platform. That means both the hardware and the software. So that your end user gets the most seamless possible experience. The convergence of this technology enables this new model. We are the seamless integration of video, home automation, and home security. Our experts today are Russell Vail. He's the Alula EVP of Market Development and a founder of the company. He's got 4 decades of experience in security. He's a serial entrepreneur who founded 10 companies. He's the founder of the first IP-based security network, and he serves on several SIA boards, as well as being our leading expert on sunsets. You cannot find a better person in the industry to talk about this. Russell, thank you for being here.
Kevin, thanks for letting me jump in on this. This is going to be fun today.
Yes. And then, of course, a new face to our webinar, but hopefully one that you'll all be getting to know real well, is Jamar Cotton. He's the program specialist for the sunset. This is so important to Alula, and we know so much of our partners are going to need some services on this, that we've actually appointed Jamar to this role to be your concierge, to be the guy that's going to help guide you through these choppy waters. He's a dedicated Alula team member focused solely on supporting our partners through this pending sunset. He's got deep Alula product knowledge. He spent 3 years on the customer tech support team before transitioning into this new role. So he knows the product in and out, and he knows the company very well and can immediately get you to the person that you need to talk to solve the problem. Jamar, thank you so much for being here for our partners.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, Kevin.
Excellent. So let's get right into it. I know a lot of people in the industry are well familiar with this plague of cellular sunsets, but I'd still like to get a quick overview. Russell, tell us, what is a cellular sunset?
Well, Kevin, cellular sunset occurs when these mobile carriers repurpose the cellular frequencies that are already out there for an older type of technology. For example, this sunset's covering 3G and CDMA and 3.5G. And when you look at these sunsets, you've got to be careful, because if it's your only path of communications, if you're a type of company that only puts in a cellular radio, they don't have any other backup communications, when you lose your cellular leg, you've lost your whole communications with your customer, and that's bad, because the recurring revenue that you charge your customer will go away if you cannot have some other kind of alternative path to work through it. And the sunsets create major expenses for a lot of these alarm companies that are servicing these clients. And part of the slide deck today, we're going to tell everyone how to take this sunset and make it into sunset lemonade and make an opportunity out of this sunset disaster that's coming.
That's a great summary, Russell. Of course, some of you on the call is going to remember that 2G sunset. And of course, it's only a matter of time before we see the next sunset. And so that's what we're here to talk about how to get out of this loop once and for all and stop this drain on your business. Let's talk about why they happen, Russell. I think this is a hard thing for people to understand. They think it's the security company that's doing it. It's the cell providers. So talk about why they're doing this.
Well, the cell providers are trying to get more bandwidth into the mobile phones. Mainly that's what they're looking for, that data communications from the phones or tablets and those type of items. And in the alarm industry, we're using just a very little bit of data. We really don't need that much information to go through it, but we're riding on that same cellular network that all the cellular carriers are selling mobile phones and laptops and other items that are utilizing this cellular network. So they have to harvest the bandwidth. And so as they're harvesting this bandwidth, they will take down frequencies out of current use and repurpose them to be able to light up LTE or 5G or whatever they're heading for. And the problem with that is that you lose some of these abilities to communicate with some of these towers because they are grooming this network. And as they groom the network, you'll find a neighborhood or some of this pieces just falling off. So it's a very serious item as these sunsets occur. And then again, the reason why they're pushing this is it's faster. LTE is faster than 3G and 3.5G. And 5G is even faster than that. And so they're looking to be able to put in more people and more concentration than they had before. If you look at some of the older networks, and we'll pick on, say, 2G or 3G, you couldn't have that many simultaneous connections within a tower. When now you look at an LTE or a 5G, that concentration of users can be far greater. And so you don't have as many drop calls, and you're able to pack in more people than you could before, which makes more profits for the AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile and all the others that are in this, network side. And so, everybody asks me, well, hey, when I upgrade to this latest, network, I'm probably never going to have to upgrade again. Well, that's incorrect, because right now you're looking at two upgrades kind of happening simultaneously. You have the LTE that's being completed out, and then you have 5G. You actually have two of them happening simultaneously, which is knocking out the 3.5G, which some carriers were calling 4G, and some network providers were saying, hey, it's 4G, but it's really not. You have to look at the LTE standard for that. And so as these networks change to get the speed, you're going to see more sunsets on the horizon. And if you look back in history, since the late 90s when we had AMPS, and I went through AMPS, which was the first cellular sunset, that occurred in the late 90s. It happens about every 10 years. So my expectation is you're going to see this happen again and again. So let's try to get our dealers out of this crazy loop, and that's something that I've been preaching for years, of using multiple paths of communications and not just relying on one single path.
Thanks for setting the table, Russell. And as a reminder, Russell is one of the country's leading experts on this phenomenon. He goes to Washington. He sits on boards and sits in on hearings to fully understand this complex problem and what it's going to do to this industry and our partners. But we were interested in hearing from the street. We wanted to know what our partners out there across the country, what they thought about the cellular sunset and what they were experiencing with it. So, Jamar, I want to bring you in on this. Can you tell me a little bit about how we went about doing this survey?
Absolutely, Kevin. So what we did is we actually emailed a 6-question survey out to our partners. We received 74 responses. This email was sent out throughout North America. And from what we received, as far as responses, majority of those responses came from the South and the Northeast. So that was done via email. We sent it out, and as I stated, we did receive 74 responses.
Excellent. Yeah, we're really heartened to see So many of our pros willing to share their knowledge for the betterment of all of our partners. You'll see Canada's on that list, 4.3%. Just a quick note, Cellular Sunset's a little bit different up north. We've got some Canada-specific webinars that you'll want to tune into if you're interested in that. So let's get to some of these findings, Jamar. In terms of the impact, we wanted to know how many devices you have online. These are all devices you're going to have to replace before they go dark. So that's the burden. That's your cost burden that you're looking at. So Jamar, when you look across our partners, how much of a burden do they have to deal with?
What we saw in our responses were about 35% of our partners that responded had 40 devices or less that needed to be replaced as far as CDMA. And then we had another 27% right after that have between 200 to 300 devices, and it's a pretty big number to have to swap out within the next 2 years. So, and then shortly, right after that, there's between 50 and 125 devices that we received there, and that takes up majority of the sunset, CDMA sunset and devices that are out there.
Yeah, you're right, Jamar. When you see 200 to 300 devices or 300 to 500 devices as big buckets, that's a lot of devices. I don't know how many of them you're able to do in a day, but you can do the math. The sooner you get started, the more of a head start you're going to have in completing that task. It comes with a number of challenges, though, and that's one of the things we want to help solve for you. That's part of what we do for our partners. So, Jamar, we were asking them what their biggest challenges were. What did they say back to us?
So the biggest challenges that we received back were costs associated with equipment and service calls. We know, it does cost to replace the devices and to send a technician out there to do the work. And then shortly after that was the selling the upgrade to the homeowner, how to position that. And we have some great options to help out with that process as well.
Russell, would you see that? I mean, does that line up with what you're hearing in the field in terms of why dealers are struggling with this problem?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our dealer community is looking at this as a cost, not necessarily as a profit center, and we're trying to help them out on that. I mean, we've got several programs that we're working simultaneously, both on the buy side and then also on the sell side. So we're trying to help out where we can, and later in this slide deck we'll get into more detail. But when a dealer looks at any type of sunset, the first thing they think about is, oh no, not again, and we have to do this again, and what's it going to cost me? What's my disruption to my business? How am I going to handle this? Where can I go with this? And so this is something that at Alula we worked really, really hard trying to determine, hey, what can we do to help with the sunset, both on the cost side and then also on the offer, so that we can take this, sunset and make it into sunset lemonade. And that's really what we drove through on our offers and kind of how we looked at the market and just interviewing our dealers and getting just that best practice. We got to learn from what our dealers are doing and then disseminate that to everybody, just like everybody did on this survey. They sent it in, and honestly, we have all of the different results. We're going to do the same thing for some of the offers that we've been hearing that have been working really well out in the marketplace.
Absolutely. We can all benefit from what we're learning. We're not competing against each other. We're all over the country, so we're all just trying to get through this together. And our Facebook forum is a great place to exchange those kinds of tips and tricks. We'd love to have you. Just go to facebook.com and you're going to find the Alula Pro Installer Group. We just passed 500 members. It's a great group, so we'd love to see you. Moving on to the next slide, we asked them about their confidence. We know that our partners are tough. They're a hardy group. They're hardworking. They're scrappy. So it doesn't surprise me that they would be confident about this. But Jamar, why don't you dig into the statistics for me?
What we had is the confidence level up front. It seems very high. We have most people that say they are confident. That's 33% or 34% of our partners. And then after that, we had 26% or 27% say they're highly confident, and below that is 25% that are somewhat confident. So there's not a lot of concern or people that are not confident in regards to taking care of this. They all seem fairly confident up front, but that's why we're here to do what we can to also help increase that confidence.
Yeah, and the dark side of confidence is you can be too confident. You can be overconfident, and you can not prepare for the magnitude of the problem that you are about to tackle. And there's nothing worse than getting in over your head and realizing that you didn't do the due diligence and the hard work you needed to do on the front end to give yourself a chance. So, Russell, I mean, how do you feel about this confidence level?
Well, yeah, I think you hit it there, Kevin. When I look at this, it's kind of like studying, game film on a hockey game. You're thinking, okay, what's my opponent? What's their goalie like? What's the players like? And then, the puck drops and then all hell breaks loose. So when I look at this, it's that first contact with your customer base. What's that going to look like? What are the difficulties you're going to have and, getting to them, getting this thing taken care of? That's what I look at. I'm kind of feel great about some of this information that we got, that at least people were concerned, they were confident with their plans, because most businesses don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. And so it looks like some of our guys here are really trying to plan this out and trying to do it, more methodically than they have before. It's getting to be too much of an occurrence. Again, I said every sunset's about a 10-year period, and you really only have about 60 months within that 10-year period as a sweet spot. So you're either thinking about the next technology or you're getting rid of the current technology. So it's somewhere in that little loop that these dealers get trapped into. And I'm kind of happy to see at least that some are concerned and at least confident in what they've got going on.
You really hit the nail on the head. If you fail to plan, you will plan to fail. You want to be on the right side of that equation, and by signing up to attend this webinar, you've already gone down the right path. And now you just got to keep going and make sure you use this actionable information to get ahead. We got a few more slides on statistics, and then we're going to get to some ways that you can use this information to not just help your business, but actually grow your business using the sunset. But timing is going to get tight. Jamar, when we asked them when they thought they would be most busiest servicing the sunset, what kind of responses did we get?
So the responses we got mainly were a lot of them are going to focus on getting these CDMAs or starting to focus on them in Q3 of this year as well as Q4 of this year. So they are starting relatively soon, but not as soon as they can. I mean, we could always start now. There's no time like the present.
Yeah, that's a good point. Russell, what did you think of this Q3, Q4 2020? Does that timeline look right to you?
I think that we need to get there right now. That's when I look at this particular survey, and I think some people think that they've got more time than they actually have. But as the network starts to get groomed, they're going to find less time than they thought they had. And I'm sure people have experienced some of this already. So the time needs to be early and often, kind of like voting. You want to do it as quickly as possible, get it out of the way.
Russell, and you just teed up next slide. This, I have to say, was the most shocking finding of this survey for me. And it really lit a fire under me about just how serious this is and how quickly it's going to be upon us. Jamar, why don't you explain what we're seeing here?
Sure. So what we're looking at is we sent out a question to ask our partners how many of their customers or if they've had any of their customers that have been affected by the sunset already. And, I mean, we're almost at 50%. We're at 48.6 or 49% that said, yes, they've had at least one customer that has been impacted by the sunset already.
I mean, almost 50% is outrageous. I mean, I've been doing sunset webinars, Russell, with you for got to be 8 or 9 months. I know you were talking from the very beginning about people losing service on the fringes, lopping off a pinky toe. But when I see this, it just makes me realize, oh my gosh, this isn't a fringe thing. This is half of our customers.
Yeah, Kevin, you couldn't have stated it more strongly. It's happening now. So a lot of times people think of that date. Oh, when's the cellular sunset end? Oh, it's end of 2022, or it's February of 2022. Whatever the date that they think it is much sooner than what they think it is. So we need to plan for it now. We need to react now, and that's really the statement with any of the cellular sunsets. The most successful dealers out there really attack this problem way early, and they end up converting more of other people's accounts because they plan to do this for their own accounts much sooner, and that gave them an opportunity in which to gain market share when everybody else was scrambling at the end of a sunset, and then actually having their customers go dark, having problems with their systems, then being upset with their dealers, and then switching. So you've got to also protect your largest asset, and your largest asset is your account base. And right now, your account base is at risk. So no better time than the present to take care of that largest asset that your company has. And that's what you've got to focus on. You've got to focus on that account base.
And if you're lucky enough to be in that 51.4%, God bless you, but you're living by a coin flip. You could wake up tomorrow, and now you're dealing with customers who are upset because they've lost power and the ability to control their security system. So don't wait for that phone call. Don't wait till it's an emergency. Get ahead of it. Try to avoid having that situation happen. But it's happening right now. Now, we're going to look at the official timelines real quick. If you've been with us for a while, you've seen this going back 6-8 months. Like I said, Russell. Russell, why don't you talk us through what this timeline shows, but also most importantly, what it doesn't show?
Well, what it doesn't show is some of the grooming that's occurring within the networks itself, and how they're grooming, pulling down some of the frequencies. If you look at CDMA as a frequency group, there's several frequencies that are involved in that. They take a couple of those frequencies, they move them over to the LTE network, and then also possibly to the 5G as that goes through. And you lose an area that your particular radio can only reach that frequency in that particular tower, and now it's dark, and so that's a problem that everybody's seeing, and it's occurring every day. We just saw that one slide where 50% of our dealer public out there has already had some issues that popped up, so the time is now. But the official end date, if we look at AT&T, which is the blue, is February of 22, and then the Verizon is December of 22. Again, they don't have an exact shut date on a lot of these. It just will occur as it goes through. But they're saying, hey, at these particular dates, we estimate that we're going to do a complete shutdown. Well, a complete shutdown is a lot different than, hey, it occurs every single day today. So, again, the message is start early and often.
Yeah, and if you're an AT&T customer, make sure you're starting even earlier. You've got 10 months less time before that total shutdown. But as Russell has pointed out, regardless of whether you're Verizon or AT&T, you could wake up tomorrow as they groom these various parts of the country. It's not a hard switch. Not like they're all working and then they're all gone February 2022. By the time we get to February 22, there's probably only going to be a few up and running anyway, and people have already dealt with it for the previous year. So don't have a false sense of security based on those timelines that the cellular providers are giving you. We've seen how that works out before. And speaking of how it works out before, Russell, I know this is your favorite topic. The crazy loop. We've seen it time and again in this industry. How do we get out of this thing?
Well, the biggest thing we can do as dealers and community is get out of this idea that cellular is our only path of communications. So you can do cellular plus IP, and IP could be in the form of Wi-Fi or Ethernet or both or all three. So you have this capability of having another path other than just the cellular. So your conversation with your customer changes on the next sunset. You can say, look, you have multiple paths of communications. We've lost one of those paths of communication, but your system still operates. It still works. You have the capability of communicating over the internet since you've lost your radio. And the customer may accept that as their only path at this particular moment and gives you time in which to go out and service that account at a later date. And the other thing that's unique about Alula is that we're really into getting the furthest type of technology that you can have that will last the longest that you can possibly have. And we, of course, chose the Cat M1 cellular path, which is the migration path from 4G LTE to this 5G. So the M1 chip that we use, this communications module that's inside the BAT Connect, it will operate in the 5G spectrum once LTE is sunset. So we will have that capability of going into the next sunset. So you're not buying a piece of communication that does today, the LTE. You're buying a communication that does the next cellular sunset, so you're already ahead of the game. So it's a great way of planning way ahead. And so trying to do that as early as possible makes a lot of sense because you'll have much more time on this particular network than you did before if you just got LTE. So again, let's start focusing on selling these upgrades and figure out how to profit from this. And I think that's something that we want to look at, and let's look at some of that technology as we go through this slide deck.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cat M1 is really the thing that's going to allow you to skip the next sunset. Alula is the only company that's currently using this technology in the security industry, so we urge you to get out of that sunset loop. And one of the things is you're not just avoiding the next sunset, it also brings a host of new capabilities to your customer's system, making that account stickier, meaning they're gonna love it, they're gonna use it, and they're gonna keep paying that RMR long into the future. So why don't we talk a little bit about the sunset as a business opportunity, Russell?
Yeah, so as a business opportunity, we have interviewed several dealers, and we've kind of looked at some of the best practices that are out there. And we have some dealers that are literally ongoing, calling their customer base, discussing upgrade opportunities that they have as a customer. Even during this pandemic, we had one that's located in Texas that actually called on their customer base, and they know their customers are home right now, and actually offered to discuss their opportunities for an upgrade to the 5G network through this M1 module. And out of that response, they've got a 28.5% group of people who paid to get upgraded during this particular time. So it's amazing just making that offer available to your customer base, how many people will do it. Out of that 28.5%, they bought at least a touchpad or a video or a combination thereof on their system. So it's an amazing opportunity to think about taking this, sunset lemons and making them into sunset lemonade. So the opportunity to upgrade your system is a great way of getting rid of the sunset early, and that's something that we're going to preach throughout. And we have another customer in Louisiana that did the same thing, but they did it in a email blast, and in a 1 week they ran this, I think, several times, and they ended up getting over 100 appointments for that month of May, this month, which is amazing to me that people are thinking about, spending money during this particular time. But they're very concerned with their security. So this is the time in which to grow your RMR. And the company in Texas that has been upgrading these has also been getting new agreements with every single one of their customers that they've touched. So this is an opportunity in which to clean up your systems, get new agreements, and actually make money during this sunset.
Wow. That is the template for how to do this. If you just reach out to your customer, ask them to pay $100 and do a service visit just to leave them with the same security system they started with, yeah, they're not going to like that. But as Russell says, if you are able to add a touchpad, if you're able to add cameras, a doorbell camera, suddenly they're paying the cost of the sunset and they're loving it and they don't even know it. And we've got some materials in our PRC, our Partner Resource Center, whether they're emails or flyers or whatever you need to send out that can sell your customers on these upgrades and give you the opportunity to replace the radio without having to spend out of your own budget for it. I mentioned it right there, video. Some of these systems may not have video on them already. Video is obviously a massive part of the security industry. Russell, how would you recommend adding video to these?
So this is one of the upgrade paths that I suggest. The great thing about Alula and what we've done as a company is we're all about a modular application, a modular look at our particular components within our system. So you have the ability to add things that you couldn't previously add to an old system. So you could take some of the oldest control panels out there, maybe a Vista system or a DSC Power Series or any of those older systems, and now give video, because the application takes in the alarm side of it and the video side of it and puts it together, which is really, really nice. And we're going to talk soon about some of the capabilities of being able to add these touch pads, putting video on these touch pads, and really upgrading the oldest system that you got out there for a very low dollar amount that gives that customer something that they say, wow, I got my whole system upgraded for a couple $100 or $300. What a deal of being able to get that, whereas everybody else is just begging to get out there just to replace a communicator. Well, why replace a communicator when you've got a great communications platform in Alula, where you actually can use the application to combine so many components of a particular system and really upgrade a system, not just kind of change out the communication. And they look on their wall and they still got the same old ugly keypads that are now yellowed because they've been in the system for 15, 18 years. Now you can really upgrade that particular system.
So when you add it up, it really makes BatConnect the ultimate sunset solution, Russell.
Oh, yeah, by far, Kevin. I've been doing this a long time, and there has never been a communications platform all put together like this. The BatConnect is really something different. Everybody talks about, I got to change out my communicator. Well, let's think about this in a little bit different way. With Alula, you get both the hardware and the software tightly integrated together, and you get this application that pulls it all together in like a beautiful concert. So you can take your oldest control panel, which we talked about before. It could be a Honeywell, it could be a GE, it could be a DSC Power Series control panel, and you could put the BatConnect on it, immediately add video, take the old touchpads off, old keypads off the wall, and install brand new touchpads, and it brings every system to the same standard, and it's the same experience, regardless if it's a Honeywell, a GE, or a DSC. You put them all together. You get the same unified experience. The application looks like the touchpad on the wall. Everything is the same. And it's amazing. And because it has IP with Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and this Cat M1 on board, you've got like a triple play. You can do Wi-Fi, you can do Ethernet, you can do the Cat M1, you can do all of them together. It doesn't really matter to us, but we as a company believe in the IP side of this because you're going to get a much better experience within your customer base because there's nothing faster than the IP side of this. And we've all kind of learned about the IP. There's so many people working from home. There's more than it ever has been before, and everybody's relying on their IP networks much more than they have before. And it's amazing how quickly you can use that path for your communications path for your security system, for your home automation, for your video. So again, take that oldest system that didn't have video, didn't have home automation, didn't have a video doorbell, didn't have touchpads, and completely upgrade that in a very easy path. And this is the time in which to do it because you have to change out your communicator. Well, might as well use the one that you can sell the most components on and be able to upgrade your client base and get new agreements.
And to that point, Russell mentioned earlier some of our partners who had some pretty innovative business strategies where they're making some good money off the sunset. The next two slides are going to go over those. I want to invite you to go ahead and screenshot these two slides if you'd like to, so you can study them later. If you need the full presentation, just reach out to me at kevinhoffman@alula.net. I'll make sure you get that. But Russell, why don't you walk us through this particular business strategy?
So when I look at this slide, this is it explains it in pretty much this one slide. Because you've installed a BAT Connect with multiple paths, we're not just saying it's a cellular path. We're saying it's cellular and it's IP, and it's not just IP, it's Ethernet plus Wi-Fi, which you can connect them all. But if you look at the Cat M1, it's the IoT band of the 5G. So when LTE moves to 5G, this M1 chip will still roll into the 5G because it's in the IoT band. So you're moving past this next sunset. You're moving past the LTE side of the sunset. Ethernet. I love Ethernet because there's no sunsetting of this particular technology, and it's super fast. So when someone is sitting there on their couch and they want to turn their lights off because they're watching a movie, for example, they want to be able to open their app and be able to turn off the lights and the lights to go off immediately, not 15 seconds later. If you look at some of the other networks that we compete in, there is nobody as fast as our particular network, and there is nothing as fast as IP when you're using that technology. So you will find that our particular network is much faster than everybody else. I think our round trip through our network's around 36 milliseconds, which is less than an eye blink. So your ability to have that experience to your customer will be awesome. So that's what you want to have. You want to be able to give your customer that IoT experience that they're looking for. They don't want to just think if you had Alexa in your home and you had the Echo and you were asking it to turn on the lights and it took 15 seconds for that to occur, it would drive you nuts, right? Well, that's the IoT experience that everybody's looking for. The other big item that I wanted to point out is that you will never have another truck roll for our particular technology, because the next technology that we will be selling, if it's 10G, will be a device that you plug into a wall that will accept the Wi-Fi connection from your control panel because you've installed a BAT Connect and be able to translate the Wi-Fi to a 10G. So you'll never have another truck roll. So this will be the last one. So we're way ahead of the competition out there because of what we designed within our platform. It's an amazing technology that we're driving out with this Bat Connect. It's, to me, a communications platform greater than anything else I've ever seen out in the marketplace.
So when you're looking at this, I think one of the things we want to get across here is you want to think about your future cost. You're not just thinking about what you're paying today. It's the cost of the upkeep and the maintenance. When you buy a house, eventually you're going to have to fix the furnace. You got to think about that. You got to build that in. So if you're building in the cost of a truck roll, let's call it $100. Okay, so now you're going to pay that $100 on 5G. So you've just built in some cost for your business in a couple of years. And now you're going to keep going, 6G, 7G. I mean, how many times are you going to pay that $100 on that account? The longer the life of the account, the more money you lose. And so off the bat, we're going to save you $100 with the Bat Connect. But now let's look, when you start adding services, how you can actually make money. So, Russell, walk me through this equation.
So I'm going to use the Texas company as what they've been offering. They've been offering to take any of the older control panels that they have. They have some Honeywell and DSC panels, and they said, we're going to upgrade your old keypads that are now yellow for $299 or $349, whatever the offer is. I believe they were offering it for $299. And so you look at the cost of a slimline touchpad with a Bat Connect at being less than $100, and your truck roll being around $100. You're in this investment for about $299. Well, if you offer an upgrade for $349, you're already ahead of the game by $50. So instead of taking this as a cost factor of being able to upgrade your customers, now you turn that into a profit. So we take the cost of all this crazy loop that everybody's been on, and you take that cost and you now make it a profit item because you've installed either a slimline touchpad or maybe a video doorbell, and now taking this system and instantly upgrading it, taking those old ugly keypads off, giving it new video functions, and doing that for a very low cost. We are one of the best values out there by far. Again, this communications platform is greater than anything else I've ever seen out on the marketplace, and it's amazing how often your customer will upgrade this and pay for it. Now, if you just called them up and said, hey, you got a problem with your system, we're going to have to change out your radio, it's going to cost you $100. Well, that customer's thinking, what am I getting for $100? I'm still paying you, $30, $40 a month. Why am I getting charged all of a sudden? Why don't I just take the 15 flyers I have stuck in my mailbox about free systems, and I'll just use that and get a brand new system? Well, here's your ability to upgrade that system with this offer. So you can now take them up and upgrade them and get them on a brand new agreement. This is the way that the best practice has been for some of these companies. Now, the other company in Louisiana did an offer similar to this, and they did it in a constant contact email blast, and they were able to get 100 appointments in the month of May, which is phenomenal. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'll do you one better on this one, Russell. You're making $50 on the hardware for each install, but even better, you're adding RMR services, so you're making more money from that account every month going forward.
Great point, Kevin. Yeah. So this is the time where you can actually, get ahead of the game. So you take your value of your company, your asset, the thing that you're building the most value within your company, the RMR that you create every single month. You can increase that and, of course, get that new agreement and keep it fresh. So, yeah, great point, Kevin.
And to help you guys with the magnitude of all of these sunsetting communicators, we've created a program to really help our partners and to put more cash back into your pocket. We're going to pay you to upgrade your customers. Russell, why don't you tell us about the ConnectUp program? I know it was your brainchild.
Yeah, so what we decided is, as a company, we've seen our dealers in this crazy loop, and it's a terrible thing to be caught up in. And so we said, look, what can we do to help everybody? And so this ConnectUp program was built, and we basically are paying up to $50 for what you change out in a particular customer's home. You can take someone else's 3G, you can take our CDMA, you can take whatever technology that's there as far as a radio, you upgrade it, and we will give you up to $50 for that work that you're doing. Now you're talking about buying a radio for around $100 and you're getting $50 back. It's amazing. Now this is not a $50 credit that I've got to wait, forever in which to get my money. We actually write you a check. So you will get a check in the mail for all of these, and you don't have to wait the 9 or 12 months it would take to get the credits to roll through to take care of this particular sunset. And the more that you add, the more money that we give you through that. And we don't have a limit on this. So if you've got 1,000 units, 10,000 units, 100 units, we will take them all and give you this upgrade cash in which to help subsidize this cost that you have. And what we hope and what we really want you to do is sell upgrades through this and even make more money for your upgrades and all the labor that you have put together to get these customers over this next sunset hurdle.
Yeah, Russell, I know you were very adamant about making sure that we were getting cash back into the hands of our partners. I think that was very far-sighted. I know right now some people are a little tight, so we're very happy that we can help you out in that manner as well. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Jamar, as I mentioned, you're the concierge for this. How can people reach you if they need some help?
So they can reach me at my email address, jamar.cotton@alula.com. The other option they would have is they can give us a call at 888-88-ALULA and select the option for our sales team, which is option 1, and I'm available there as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamar, and I hope many of you will take Jamar up on his offer. Russell, thank you so much. Always a pleasure sharing your industry knowledge around the sunset. I'm sure our partners are thankful as well. Do you have a few moments to stick around and answer any questions they may have in the chat?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'd be more than happy to do that, Kevin.
All right, guys, let's get to it.
The first one comes to us from Joe Benizia. Joe's asking about Alula's two-way voice capability. What can you tell me about our ability to do two-way voice?
So two-way voice, we do have that capability. The way it works with our back connect is as long as that panel has the two-way voice capability, you can actually add the feature in Alula Connect to enable the two-way voice with the back connect, and it should work with any of those with any of the central stations that do allow two-way voice calling.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamar. And Joe has another question. He's asking about takeover options for hardwired fire zones. Is that something Back Connect is able to do?
So that question I may have to defer to someone else for the hardwire fire zone. For myself, I'm not completely sure about that on my end.
Yeah, Joe, if you want to just send a quick email to kevin.hoffman@alula.net. I'll get that over to Dave Main. He'll definitely be able to get in touch with you and answer that question and dig into it for you. Next question comes to us from Robert. Do you think homeowners understand the sunset? This is a good one, Jamar. What do you think in terms of the average homeowner? Can they wrap their minds around this?
I don't think they do. And I know it deals a lot with cellular cell phones as well. But for the most part, most people are on LTE as it is when it comes to cell service. And so I don't think the homeowners necessarily know about or are really interested in knowing about, the devices are sunsetting. I think their standpoint is my alarm system working? And that's really what their focus is on.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Jamar. I think most people think of, when you talk to them about cellular service, they're immediately going to think about their phone. And they're going to say, well, my phone still works. Why doesn't my security system? And they really, it's something when you're in the industry that it can be difficult to understand the technical nuances of it. which is why we bring Russell on to really explain it and how it works and why it happens. So I think homeowners are going to struggle to understand it, and that's why at Alula, we really recommend that you don't even bother to bring that up with the homeowner. You just treat it as an upgrade. You just tell them, listen, I want to come out, I want to add a camera, I want to add some additional capabilities of the touchpad. That's going to make them happy, and you never have to get into the idea of 2G sunsets, 3G sunsets, and all the rest. Okay, speaking of which, next question, Jamar, comes to us from John. And this was kind of touched on in the presentation. How long until the 4G sunset?
So, I mean, on our end, it's a cellular thing with cell phone companies, so we don't really have any advance notice on when 4G will sunset. However, with the Bat Connect, that's one of the things. We have 5G built in. It's 5G ready. So when that time does come, we're already preparing for it.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the benefits of that Cat M1 is that you're not going to have to worry about the future sunsets. You don't have to get into those kinds of timetables. So fix it once and forget it. Jamar, here's like a math question from junior high. So you'll have to do your best with this. But Mike is asking, how long do you think it will take to swap out my 300 devices? Do you have an estimate on that?
Yes. So I have an estimate on that. So the way we're looking at it, I mean, sunset is 20 to 30 months away for it to be for everything to be completely sunset. I say 20 to 30 months because if you're using AT&T, it's one number versus Verizon, it's a different number. So I would say if you're looking on a monthly basis, you could do 10 to 15 devices per month, and that would take you right up to the end of the sunset, depending on what you're using. Of course, speaking in general, changing out these devices, you could get these changed out within about an hour. So I would think you could do 5 a day if you wanted to, and attack that a lot faster instead of waiting until the end, because as we stated, they're starting these towers are starting to be changed out now. And so you can, do the 10 to 15 a month, but it's best to get as many done as quick as possible so you don't have to worry about your customers' services being interrupted or stop working at some point.
Yeah, exactly. The journey of 300 devices begins with one. You can't fix 300 of them today, but you can go out and do the first one and then do the next one. So get started now, get started early, and make some progress, and then you'll be done before you know it. Just a few more questions here, Jamar, and then I'll let you go. Question comes to us from Robert, asking, do you have best practices for selling in the sunset that I could download?
So, yes, I mean, where I like to refer the partners I speak to is our Partner Resource Center, or the PRC. We have tons of information regarding the sunset, flyers that you can print up and things of that nature to help you with getting your customers to upgrade. So we don't refer to it in any of the flyers or any of that information as the sunset. Everything is geared toward upgrading your customer's lifestyle. Upgrading, to the touchpad, using the doorbell cameras, things of that nature. And we do have tons of information that is in our Partner Resource Center that helps out with that.
Yeah, I would just like to second Jamar and put in a plug for that Partner Resource Center. There's a lot of tools there, including brochures that you can brand that will help start the conversation with your customer about replacing that sunset-prone radio and upgrading with a touchpad and cameras. So last question here, Jamar, and this one's a softball for you. The question comes to us from Jonathan and is asking, is there someone at Alula I can reach out to review my sunset strategy? who would I reach out to?
So, yes, that would be me. As we stated, you could reach me at Jamar, that's JAMAAR .cotton, COTTON, at alula.com. Also, you can go to our Sunset page, alula.com/sunset, and there is an option to schedule an appointment with me where you can pre-schedule a time that's good for you, and it will notify me and add to my calendar, and I will be able to give you a call and spend some time discussing strategy for Sunset with you.
Well, Jamar, thank you so much. I'm sure many people will want to take you up on that offer, and you'll have a busy afternoon. Get in line first. Go ahead right now. Send that email to jamar.cotton@alula.com, and you will get a hold of the Sunset expert, and you'll get on his calendar, and you'll be one of the first to benefit from his expertise. Thank you all for joining us today. Sorry so much about these audio difficulties that we encountered midway through. As you all know, we're working from home. We're dealing with some different Wi-Fi networks than we usually work with, thanks to this pandemic situation. But thank you for those of you who hung in there. I will be posting an edited version that will clean it up a little later today. So if you had some trouble and had to drop out, just go ahead and watch the edited version. And we hope you will join us for our next webinar. And in the meantime, any questions that I didn't get to, please just send an email to kevin.hoffman@alula.net, and I will definitely make sure to get you your answer. So thank you all so much for joining us, and get out there and let's solve this sunset.